Good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Vinay Saranga, owner of Comprehensive Psychiatry in Apex, North Carolina. Hope all of you are doing well. I know it's been a while since I've done a live video with the current the pandemic situation. There's been a lot of other things that were taking a priority over the last few months. But thank you for all of you that are listening to this today and joining me. So the reason I wanted to record this today is because this was something of a more personal nature to me that came up this past weekend. There was a death of a young, popular, talented actor over the weekend in India and Bollywood. There's all sorts of debate about why he died and cause of death and all that, but there are some reports that it was possibly related to depression and suicide. But so that incident gave me um, the thought that I really need to address the impact of depression, bullying, mental health issues in the general community, but also within my own community of the Asian Indian population, because there's still, unfortunately, a very big stigma about mental health issues, and it's resulted in a lot of resistance to folks seeking help for depression, and parents have resistance to seeking help for their children with mental health issues. On a personal note, I want to disclose, I've even in my own personal life, I've unfortunately I've lost some of my friends to suicide, and some were Indian as well. And I do treat folks of Asian descent and Indian background in my private practice as well. So I want you to know that this is not, and I'm sharing this with you because I think it's important to know that depression is not specific to a certain ethnicity or cultural background. It's pervasive everywhere in all communities, in all ethnicities, and mental health issues do need to be treated. And if someone needs help, they need to seek that help, and parents need to seek help for their children. So. So this is an important issue to me because like I mentioned, I've lost some of my friends to suicide, and I've had some of my own family members struggle with depression as well. So this is personal to me, and it's impacted my own life as well, which is probably part of the reason why I'm in this field, is to help folks who may be struggling with this as well. And unfortunately, I have a platform now with this that I'm able to discuss some of these issues with you. I will let you know this. So this may be just a little bit longer live video than I usually share. After I found out about the death of this kind of young popular actor over the weekend, I actually elicited some of the help from some of my friends, actually, because I wanted to get the general feeling and feedback from the Indian community about how his death kind of has impacted them and their feelings about kind of depression, suicide, and mental health issues in the Indian community and the general population. So I'm just going to read some of paraphrase some of the comments that some of my friends shared with me, and to any of my friends that helped me with this, I appreciate your help, and thank you very much for giving me some of your thoughts and comments. And hopefully, I can use this forum now to kind of comment and provide some response to some of the comments you gave me. So as I mentioned, thank you to all of my friends that I will keep anonymous as far as their names go. But thank you for all of your help in kind of helping me formulate some ideas and thoughts about this topic, because it was helpful to me to kind of brainstorm about this and the best way to approach this. All right, so first comment, I'm paraphrasing. So career success does not always contribute to happiness, and that a person deep down really cares for trust and support in any form, and I certainly agree with that concept. I think this is more referring to kind of fulfillment in what you're doing, and feeling that you've contributed some to society from your work, and that's important. And another comment from another friend, paraphrasing here: good education, talents, and success in career can sometimes do not give confidence in life, so even if you, once again, going back to the previous comment, sometimes even though it seems that folks have had career success, they still don't feel fulfilled, and unfortunately it can sometimes lead to depression and even suicide. So and oftentimes our society teaches us from childhood that especially this happens in oftentimes in Asian and Indian communities, is that success is about luxury and money, and having the big house, having the fancy car, and a luxurious lifestyle. But perhaps one of my friend's thoughts was maybe perhaps changing to more focusing on simple things and a simple lifestyle. Maybe that could reduce the risk of depression and suicide in our community, and possibly so. If we're always seeking monetary happiness, that's a never-ending pursuit and never-ending goal, and it could lead to a lot of frustration if that's really all you're focusing on from childhood to adulthood, and even and if all you're seeking is a certain amount in your bank account, that doesn't necessarily equate to fulfillment in what you're doing and happiness in what you're doing, because a lot of times you can have a job that pays you really well, maybe $1 million a year or whatever, and that doesn't necessarily mean that person is happy in their personal life and feels good about what they're doing and is happy with their job. So I certainly agree with those comments as well. Another piece that came up was about bullying, and this is an important issue. This is from childhood going on up through adulthood, and bullying is a tough topic to broach to approach, because it happens in various forms, and now it's happening in cyberbullying, online bullying. Kids are really struggling with this on social media and texting and things like that. And this, unfortunately, this kind of is going on into adults as well. So it's a big problem. Some of my initial thoughts that I had about this is, if you notice that one of your friends is being bullied, take a stance for them. Stand up for them. Support your friends. Make sure they know that they're not alone and you're with them, and you don't agree and you don't support whoever's bullying them. So and tell someone if you notice that your friend is being bullied, whether online or in person. Tell someone. If for a child, for example, tell an adult. that this is going on, so it can be addressed appropriately. Um, seek out professional help, and if you are the person that's being bullied, seek out professional help if you're really struggling with it and not sure what to do and starting to feel depressed and sad because of it. Seek support from professionals. Seek support from your friends. You don't want to feel alone or hopeless throughout this process. Um, um, and start to realize and accept the feelings that you're having and what you're going through related to it. Maybe it's depression, sadness, anxiety, and try to get the help that you need. Going through it alone is not going to help. It's not necessarily going to help you because other people won't know what you're struggling with. So it's important to be willing to share your feelings about it, about what's going on. Another comment from a friend. So, um, is it a battle when someone's struggling with depression? Is it a battle with his or her circumstances, or is it a battle with his own brain? Um, and probably, it's the theories behind depression is likely a combination. Really, it's of biological factors related to depression. Serotonin, norepinephrine, dopamine that are playing a role, and that's the partly the theory of why antidepressants can work, but also the psychosocial stressors that are an additive component. Like I mentioned, bullying, sometimes financial stressors, which is happening now with the pandemic, with a lot of folks losing their jobs. So so that's really it's a combination of things that's probably leading to folks struggling with depression. If you notice that if you've noticed that your friend maybe have some changes that you're noticing about them, look out for any symptoms, or in your family members, that if they're, one of the things that sometimes we can do as close friends or family is look for changes in your friends or family members that are unusual for them, and that could be a concern for particularly depression and risk of suicide. If you're noticing changes in your child or parent or brother or sister or friends, sleep patterns, appetite, they're losing a lot of weight, crying a lot, maybe even talking about suicide, any changes in their behavior that's out of the norm for them, that's a concern. That's a red flag for depression, and we need to tell the appropriate people, whether it's a professional, an adult, what have you. And that's one of the most important things you could do as a loving family member or as a caring friend too. So another comment, social media. I touched on this previously, and I think I want to embellish. I want to add to that a little bit. It seems one of my friends commented, seeking acceptance and compliments from people that you don't know, it can lead to a very unhealthy cycle for you. Instead of that, my friend suggested, we need to develop interpersonal connections with family and friends who are able to sense a change in our emotion, and we need to share our emotions with people close to us instead of sharing them on public forums like social media. And actually, that's a reiteration of something that I had already spoke about before. But if you are struggling with depression, seek help from your friends and family. You don't necessarily want to seek help or place it on a public forum like social media, where there's going to be people reading it, and they really may or may not really know you very well to really do anything about it. You want to seek help and talk to people that can really help you through it, and help you through the next steps of what to do. So that's important. And yes, social media can be a huge stressor for a lot of folks now. There's on all the different platforms that are available now, a lot of people are putting some comment or picture or something like that, just trying to seek the most likes and comments from people and congratulations or whatever. And a lot of those are from people that you really don't know and may not really necessarily care what they think. But we're always seeking for that acceptance from them, and instead of that, just try to seek the help and connections from your family and close friends instead. Um, one of my other friends commented, it's not, especially particularly in the Indian community, it's thought as sometimes a parental failure if your children need mental health treatment. And I want to reiterate, um, I've I've had Indian friends, family struggle with depression as I was growing up through childhood and even in adulthood. Um, and I want to tell you, it's not a failure as a parent if your child needs help for depression, anxiety, ADHD, whatever it is. But there is, and a lot of especially Indian parents are resistant or to the idea that there is a biological component to a lot of these illnesses, and that's why, as I mentioned, medication can help oftentimes. There's a lot of stigma about mental illness in particularly the Asian community, Indian community, and so a lot of Indian parents don't seek the help for their kids that may really need it, and that's sad. And unfortunately, the kids will really struggle, or not only kids, it could be parents, siblings, whatever. They struggle for much longer than needed, just because their family members are in denial and are not they don't know the medical knowledge and science behind some of these illnesses, and so they think it can just be fixed by just snapping out of it or getting more sleep or just focusing on school or doing 100 different activities during the day, and so you don't think about the depression or anxiety. And unfortunately, it's not as simple and easy as that. And I have to educate a lot of, especially Indian parents, about that there is a biological component to depression, ADHD, anxiety that needs to be addressed and needs to be treated. And So it's important for parents to, as my friend commented, that it's important for parents to realize that they're not a failure. This is not their failure if their child needs help, and we don't want the child to suffer longer than they need to. And I'm always, one of the most gratifying things about my job and my profession has been to see a child who's struggling, initially in my office, if they're struggling with depression, anxiety, ADHD symptoms, really struggling in school with grades, with their family and behavior and things like that. And we get to the right medicine and the right dose, and all of a sudden, like, their life changes. It's a complete night and day change. Their mood is better. They're doing better in school. They're happier at home. Their grades are better. It's one of the most gratifying things of my job to be able to see that happen. And I wish I could help more people. I wish I could help more folks like that. But as I mentioned before, one of the struggles in our Indian community is the stigma of it. And so a lot of times Indian parents don't seek help for their children that could really benefit from it. And I want to use this forum and this platform to hopefully raise awareness about this issue and help educate any parents, but also any Indian parents that are listening to this video today. Another friend's comment. Accept who you are, including all of your weaknesses, openly, and stop comparing your success to others. Yeah, and I think this goes along with the thoughts about social media. we all have our weaknesses. We all have our strengths, and if we can admit to our weaknesses and work on those things, that leads to a healthier lifestyle. And this constantly comparing your success to others. It happens a lot I know in the Asian Indian communities is comparing success based on childhood. It's about grades. Are you getting straight A's? Are you the top student in the class? Are you the valedictorian? Whatever that, and then that keeps going on through. Did you go to the best college? Did you get? My child got into Stanford. Where's your child going? So there's this competition and this comparing of children based on these kind of external factors. Then you go through college. It's which child got to the best college, which child got into Yale, Harvard, and then it's about which child got into the best medical school. And then which child, and then my child got into dermatology or neurosurgery. What is your child doing? This is a never-ending kind of competition, unfortunately, that's kind of inbred in our community, and it's and it's unfortunate because it can lead to a lot of frustration amongst folks, and a lack of fulfillment, because a lot of times we're doing these things just to please our parents and fulfill our parents' dreams and desires, and we're not doing things that really are meaningful to us and make us happy. And so I think it's important to think about this and kind of start shifting our mindset. There's a lot of good folks that I listen to as far as podcasts, things like that. I know Dr. Shafali is great. Sometimes, and I like some of the Tony Robbins podcast and entrepreneur podcast, things like that. And I've learned a lot from that. I think one of the things is that also our kids' happiness should be our priority. Instead of focusing on whether they have the best grades in the class or whether they got into best medical school, we should focus on whether our kids are happy or not. And if they're not happy, talking to them and having an open discussion with them about it, and helping them through their struggles and helping them accept their weaknesses, and work on those areas that they don't quite feel confident in, and realizing that we all have weaknesses and we all have struggles and challenges and problems in life. So, and one last comment that one of my friends made is that mental health issues are just like any other medical condition, and they should be discussed openly, and folks need to seek professional help for those mental health conditions. And I think that's a good conclusion to all the things that I've been discussing previously, because yes, I agree. I certainly agree with that. I think mental health conditions, I equate it to any other medical conditions such as diabetes, hypertension. They need to be managed and monitored appropriately and diagnosed appropriately and treated appropriately. And yes, the mental health conditions have different treatment modalities, including medications that we use, psychotherapy approaches that we use, but they all need to be they still need to be monitored by a professional. And it needs to be discussed, and we need to seek professional help when needed. If your blood sugar is high or if your blood pressure is high, typically you would seek your primary care physician's help. For this, you maybe seek a psychiatrist's help, or a child psychiatrist, or a therapist's help. So I think it's important to start talking about this in our in our communities, and I'm hoping that this video will kind of start to have that discussion about mental health conditions in all over, but focusing on the challenges that we're having in kind of the Indian community as well. I know this was a longer video today. I had a lot of thoughts about this, and I had a lot of great feedback and comments from my friends. So I want to do my best to include those and address those. If you've listened to this video, please do leave any comments, thoughts, suggestions about this video for me to for future videos or for me to comment on. I do appreciate your listening to this. I hope this was helpful to you today. This was very educational for me as I thought through and got the feedback from my friends about this topic, and I think it's an important issue that needs to be addressed, and it's a timely issue because of what did happen this past weekend. I know it's on a lot of especially in the Indian community. It's really on their mind now, and has brought this issue to the forefront. And I'm kind of glad it has, because it's something that needs to be discussed, and that's why I thought this was an appropriate time to kind of bring this up and discuss this with you. And I was really impressed by the I was impressed by the really thoughtful feedback I got from a lot of my friends, which many of them were of Indian descent, and so I'm glad to see that that depression, suicide is being talked about now, and people are thinking about it and are willing to discuss it and share thoughts about it, because I think it's an important issue, and it shows that we are starting to make some progress here, but we still have a lot more progress that needs to be made. But thank you very much for listening to this super long video today. I hope it was helpful to you. Have a great week. Take care. Bye.